This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today we're going to talk a little bit about self-belief and the truth about self-belief. I think one of the first things I want to talk about to begin with is how often we either A, catch ourselves or hear other people, doesn't matter, either one, talk about how I don't have support around me and no one else believes in me, or some people actually sit there waiting for someone to doubt them so they can prove them wrong, which is a fucking mismatch if I've ever heard of one. But it's sort of, it comes down to is like, if you are the person or the individual that is waiting for someone to believe in you and kind of almost give you permission to be awesome or to do the thing that you want to do, you got to understand that it's no one's job to believe in you, right? In fact, they could believe in you and you not be actually somewhat qualified for the task. What does that mean then, right? Or you could be qualified for it, and I mean skilled and able to achieve it, but no one believes in you, so what are you going to do about that? So what's more important? I mean, like, let me put it in a sentence, ready? People believing in you doesn't mean shit if you don't believe in yourself. And this is where self-belief comes from. We need to be able to understand that self-belief is belief in the self, the capital S. The capital S, the self, is who you are when you remove all the bullshit persona that you try to be around people, and you're honest with that individual, and you integrate the darker parts, the shadow variations of you. And so when you know who that person is, right? When that person's naked, when they're vulnerable, when they're honest, when they're courageous, when they're strong, then you have that, what's left. How can you not believe in that? There's everything to believe in that. Doubt is not part of the self, right? It's not, right? Fear is not part of the self, right? Abuse is not part of the self. Hatred is not part of the self, right? That might be part of the dark side, so to speak, but we got to understand that even, like, for example, with hatred, like, people go, what's the opposite of love? It's like, it's hate. It's like, no, it's not. The opposite of love is indifference. And this is really important. It's the same with what's the opposite of courage. It's not, it's not cowardice, it's conformity. And this makes a really big distinction. It's like, we need to look at areas in our life where we are lacking the support from others, and we have to be able to question that and go, okay, I'm lacking support from other people, sure, potentially, maybe, whatever, but is that a good enough reason to stop me from doing what I want to do? Or should I just go forward and do what I want to do, and they'll join me if they want to join me, or they won't if they won't? Like, it really comes down to this idea that, and this is something that I've learned in my life, it's like, I want to find a business partner, or a podcast co-host, or someone to run seminars with me. And I kept hiding behind the fact that I thought that I needed someone else there because I didn't trust myself. I didn't have that self-belief, that self-trust. And it wasn't until I had a couple of injuries and a couple of, like, downturns and being let down a couple of times that I realized I was like, fuck it, dude, you just need to do this. And every single time I started, I took it serious, and people started to follow, right? Because action creates more action. Energy creates more energy. And so moving through that and moving towards the things that I wanted to do, rather than waiting for someone else to, like, rely on or qualify my goals, or the fact that I possibly could achieve something in my life, or whatever it may be, when I just went, fuck it, I'm just going to go for it, people started to join me because they started to believe and wanted to contribute. And so this is where it goes back to that sentence I already said, like, just a couple minutes ago, is that other people believing in you doesn't mean shit if you don't believe in yourself. It's like, well, how can I believe in myself? I have no reason to. It's like, you have no reason not to. It's like, oh, what about these times in my past where I've failed? It's like, what about the times in your past where you succeeded? Like, failure isn't a matter of going, oh, I've failed, so therefore, A, I'm a failure. No, failure is an event, not a person, for one. But two, it's like, that's part of the process. That's part of any fucking process. And like I've said before, redefine failure. Redefine failure so it has meaning for you. There are no fucking rules, right? There's laws, sure, but even some of them are wrong. But regardless, there's laws, but there's no rules. And so be careful of living up to rules that are made up. That's called dogma, especially when they're yours. 'Cause, I mean, that's the most convincing dogma is the bullshit you tell yourself to keep yourself playing small. And that's not good enough. We don't need that. There's plenty of that in society. Society is doing what it can to make sure people stay down because it's easier, right? And the other I mean, human beings will do that anyway because we don't want to actually be... We don't want to leave the tribe. We don't want to be ejected, so to speak, because if we get ejected, that's dangerous. I could die. I could be eaten by wolves, which makes sense a very, very, very long time ago. Whereas now, conforming is one of the most dangerous things you can do. One of the most dangerous things you can do, no hate on this if this is what your goal is to have a white picket fence and have everything sorted out by the age of 25. The people that I remember seeing back on Facebook, and I know this isn't the general rule for every single human being, maybe you relate to this, maybe you don't, but I remember seeing people 5 years ago, I'm 29, so 5-6 years ago, and they fucking had their life sorted. And now they're divorced, or, now they're saying that they weren't happy when they were going through this process, and yada, 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 yada. And it's just like, be careful when it comes to self-belief, be careful comparing your ability to achieve something in life based on what people are showing you on social media. It's not true. Not everyone in there is an asshole. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that it's your fucking life. Make a decision what it is you're gonna do with it. That's gonna be meaningful for you. So it should be less about can I achieve this and more about what can I do today that's going to move me towards what's more purposeful for me, right? What's more meaningful. We need more leaders. We need more purpose. We need more meaning. We don't need more billionaires. We don't need more millionaires. We don't need more bosses. We don't need more people that are trying to suck the world dry and get people working for. We don't need more fucking yachts. Like, I'm not against yachts. I'm not against earning money. I'm not against any of that stuff. I'm just saying we need more belief in ourselves to do the thing that's going to allow us to spread a solid, beautiful, genuine, and authentic message to the world. And the more that we can courageously move towards that, you understand that self-belief isn't even a fucking part of the equation anymore. Someone's like, where do you get this motivation and self-belief from? It's like, there is no motivation. There is no self-belief. There's just what I want to do, and I'm either going to get it or I'm not. But I'm going to spend about 70 fucking years figuring that out. And so the important thing here, and this is like, I had a conversation with a client today, and I mentioned about the podcast I had with Jay, my coach, and he talked about resilience not really being a thing because it means you're presupposing there's something to be resilient against, right? Whereas he doesn't believe that to be the case. And it makes sense to me. It's just like, it's the same fucking thing with self-belief. Self-belief is presupposing that you doubt yourself. There's no self-belief, really. You trust yourself, you trust your potential, and you lean into it, knowing damn well that you're going to make some mistakes, and knowing damn well that's human. In fact, not making mistakes is not human. That doesn't happen. Okay? You're going to make mistakes. The human race has awkwardly stumbled forward for fucking hundreds of thousands of years, and that's not stopping anytime soon. And you're a part of that. You're not some sort of special exception that everyone thinks that you're going to be perfect. It's not true. To re-quote something that I mentioned in a podcast a little while ago about perfectionists is that for a lot of people, the perfectionist identity becomes very important, not to do things perfectly, but to keep the identity of never being good enough. Now think about that, right? It's like, get rid of this idea that you need other people's support and belief. Is it helpful? Yes, I'm not doubting that. You just don't need it. You don't need it. It's like a fucking power boost, right? It's the sprinkles on the cake, but you got to bake the cake. That's your cake, and no one's coming to save you. That's your cake to bake, and you got to do that through any form of adversity or what you think is adversity. It doesn't matter. That's what's so crucial about this message. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be shiny. It doesn't have to be that. You just have to start. You don't have to know every single step along the way, and that might freak some of you out. But what's going to happen is that if you try and plan every single step along the way right where you are right now, is that in 6 months you're going to be smarter. So you would make a different plan in 6 months. So you just have to start, right? Because you can't know the whole process, because the market changes, the world changes, people change. It's a continually evolving like spectrum of consciousness. You can't just know what to do and expect it to be perfect, because there is none. Team, I'm out. Thank you very much for tuning into this podcast. If you found it beneficial, as always, it means the world to me if you pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. If you haven't already, check out davenixon.com/memberships. You'll find out about the Human Movement, which is my online group, also known as, or formerly known as Mood Prep Online. It's $9 a month, and effectively I go in there and I do a Q&A. That's where I put a lot of resources. I also share some other content from the seminars that I run in there, and that's wherever I have something new, it always goes in there first before it goes out to the public. So either way, team, until tomorrow, thank you very much for listening. Peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick. Slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unlearned.